Okay, iPhone XS. I have been using this phone for more than a month now, and generally speaking, I like it. There are many good things about this phone, but at the same time, there are some small drawbacks. The design is one of the things I like about this phone. In 2022, this phone will be 4 years old, yet it doesn't look outdated in my opinion. This phone feels and fits very nicely in my hand. It's not too big or too small. There are no sharp edges or corners, so it's very comfortable to hold. It's also very durable with Gorilla Glass on both sides and a stainless steel frame. But glass is glass and glass breaks, so put a case or a skin to protect from accidental drops or scratches. It's also IP68 water and dust resistant, so it should be completely fine in rain or getting splashed at or even fully submerged in water for 1.5 meter for 30 minutes. But here's a pro tip. Try not putting this phone in water on purpose, because the older the phone gets, the less water or dust resistant it becomes. So avoid it whenever you can. So the display is a 5.8-inch OLED panel with a resolution of 2436 by 1125 pixels. But a 1:1 contrast ratio, support for HDR content, amazing viewing angles and a lot of contrast, accurate colors and a peak brightness of 625 nits make this an amazing screen. These are all the features you would expect on a high-end flagship phone. I said almost because in 2022 standards, I would expect a 120Hz or even a 90Hz display. But Apple being Apple, the latest iPhone 14 is still running on 60Hz panels, so it's not a big deal. The screen is bright enough for outdoor usage, but not that dim at night. Auto brightness works very well. Now performing everyday tasks like calling, texting, browsing and things like that is a piece of cake for this phone. Thanks to the A12 Bionic, which even 4 years later is still a very powerful chipset. I rarely play games on my phone, but I guarantee you this can run any games at ease. I tried playing Genshin Impact, which is a highly graphic demanding mobile game, but even though it's a highly demanding graphic game, it runs smoothly on this device without any stutters and frame drops. In the higher settings, there are a bit of stutters or frame drops, but it's still playable. With all the power, the battery life on this phone is not the greatest. It has a 2658 mAh battery. To give you an idea, with 79% of battery health, I get about 3.5 hours of battery life. Now I know exactly what you're thinking right now. This phone only has 79% battery health. What do you expect? 9 hours of screen on time? Of course, you're not gonna get that. And you would be right, the battery health on this phone is pretty bad. Anything below 80% isn't really good. But here's the thing, if you're gonna buy this, the chances of you getting a phone with 100% battery health or even like 90% battery health are very low. This is an old phone and batteries don't last forever, they degrade over time. So the iPhone XS you're gonna find in the used market will have like 85 or 80% battery health, so your battery life will be similar to mine, unless of course you get the battery replaced, then your phone will probably last longer. Okay, so the main reason I bought this phone was for these cameras. The cameras are great for most part. There are some drawbacks for the cameras too, but not any big problems. For example, this phone only has two cameras, a 12 megapixel main camera and a 12 megapixel 2x telephoto camera and a 12 megapixel front selfie shooter. This phone lacks an ultra-wide camera. The photos and videos from the main camera looks really nice. The camera or the software does really a great job on exposing the highlights and shadows at the same time. Photos look sharp and detailed. The software does a really good job in controlling the noise in low light situations. Although low light photos are just average because this phone doesn't have night mode. So at night these cameras kind of fall apart. I would say not having the night mode is probably the biggest drawback on this phone when it comes to cameras. So the second camera, the 2x telephoto, is not as good as the primary camera, but it is also used for portrait photos. And I like the photos it takes. I prefer the zoomed in for photos, but some people don't. It can do 1080 at 60 and 4K at 60. Lastly, the selfie camera. It's a decent camera. Not great, but not bad either. So, should you buy the iPhone XS in 2022? I have been using this over a month now and I will continue to use it as long as the battery is not giving up. So before buying this iPhone XS, you can also consider the iPhone XR, which is almost similar but with some minor differences. But that phone has a great battery life. We are talking 6+ hours of screen on time. So if battery is your priority, I would recommend you to consider that phone over this one. Other than that, iPhone XS is still a solid phone you can consider in 2022. That's all for today's video. If you're new here, consider subscribing and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.